The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with beings from across the known galaxy. Tall crystal creatures called Vorthek stood next to sea-like aliens with many arms. Bug-like Zephyrians clicked their claws while they talked floating. Gas clouds that spoke through music. Ambassador Clickstar of the Vorthik people walked to the center of the hall. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbow colors across the walls. Today was his turn to share old stories from the galaxy's past. It was a job that most council members found boring, but the law said they had to keep records of all. The old tailies. Today I will tell you about the humans, Clickstar said. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The hall became quiet. Some of the younger aliens had never heard this story before. Others rolled their eyes or made sounds of annoyance. The human myth was old and silly, told so many times that everyone was tired of it. Clickstar opened a datapad that glowed with ancient text. The old records say that humans came from a world called Earth. This world was said to be a death planet, where almost nothing could live. The gravity was so strong it would crush most of us. The air had poison storms that could kill. Wild animals hunted in packs and ate everything they could catch. A few aliens in the crowd laughed. Commander Zethil of the Kalari people waved his tentacles in disbelief. "That is impossible," he said. "No thinking creature could grow up on such a terrible world. If they did, they would be too busy trying to stay alive to build spaceships." More laughter filled the hall. The idea seemed crazy to most of them. All the smart species in the galaxy came from safe worlds with gentle weather and plenty of food. How could anyone become civilized on a planet that tried to kill them every day? Clickstar continued reading. The humans were said to be bipedal, walking on two legs like some of us do. But they were different. The stories say they never gave up, no matter how bad things got. When other species would surrender or run away, humans would keep fighting until they won or died. "Fairy tales," said Chancellor Mordeith, the leader of the Vorthik. "These stories were probably made up by some old civilization to scare their enemies. Think about it. If such creatures were real, where are they? We have explored most of the galaxy. We have found no trace of this Earth or its people." The younger aliens in the crowd nodded. It made sense. The galaxy was a big place, but the Council had been exploring it for 3,000 years. Their ships had visited millions of star systems. They had found hundreds of different species, but they had never found any sign of humans or their death. World. Clickstar kept reading from the old texts. The humans were said to have no natural weapons, like claws or poison, but they used tools better than any other species. They could make weapons from anything they found. They could survive in space, underwater, in hot deserts, and on frozen ice worlds. The stories say they were the only species that actually got stronger when things got worse. "Now that is just silly," laughed Dr. Yilnoth, a famous scientist. "From the healer species. All life forms get weaker when stressed. That is basic biology. Stress causes fear, and fear makes creatures want to hide or run away. No species becomes more dangerous when they are afraid." But some of the older aliens remembered different versions of the human stories. They had heard tales of human ships that never retreated from battle. Stories of human soldiers who would fight even when they were badly hurt. Legends of human explorers who would go to places that other species thought were too dangerous. The stories always ended the same way. The humans would show up when things looked hopeless. They would fight enemies that seemed impossible to beat. And somehow they would win. "The funniest part," said Commander Zethul, "is that these humans were supposed to be pack hunters. Most smart species stopped hunting long ago. We grow our food or make it in labs. But humans supposedly hunted other creatures for food, even after they learned to build cities and spaceships." The crowd laughed again. The idea of a spacefaring species that still hunted seemed backwards and primitive. Young aliens who were just learning about galactic history raised their hands with questions. If humans were so dangerous, why didn't they take over the galaxy? Asked a small Zephyrian student. Clickstar looked at his notes. The stories say they were too busy fighting each other. Humans supposedly fought wars on their own planet for thousands of years. They only stopped fighting each other when they found bigger enemies to fight. What happened to them? Asked another student. Nobody knows, Clickstar admitted. The stories just stop. Some say they destroyed themselves in their wars. Others think they left the galaxy to find new enemies to fight. A few tailies claim they are still out there, watching and waiting. The hall erupted in more laughter. The idea of a species that left the galaxy to find new fights seemed like the most ridiculous part of all. As the meeting ended, the aliens went back to their normal business. They had trade agreements to sign, exploration missions to plan, and scientific research to discuss. The human stories were just entertainment, like watching a movie about monsters that could never be real. But in the deepest parts of space, far from the Council's explored territories, something was watching their signals and listening to their transmissions. Something that had been waiting for the right time to reveal itself. The humans were not a myth. They were just very, very patient. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked out at the stars. The UNE Defiance was humanity's best diplomatic vessel, built to make a good first impression on alien species. Its hull was painted white with blue stripes, and it carried more communication equipment than weapons. Jake had been chosen for this mission because he was calm under pressure and good at talking to people. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez had spent months training him for this moment. Remember, she had told him, we only get one chance to make first contact. We need to show them that humans are peaceful and civilized. The mission had taken 2 years to plan. Earth's government had been watching the Galactic Council through hidden spy probes for decades. They knew about the different alien species, their languages, and their customs. Now it was time to introduce humanity to the galaxy. Dr. Alex Bennett sat at the science station studying data about the species they were about to meet. He was Earth's best expert on alien life forms, even though he had never seen a real alien before today. The Kalari seemed to be the most military-minded, he said, but they should respond well to formal diplomatic protocols. Communications Officer Maria Santos was at her post, ready to translate between human languages and the various alien tongues. She had learned 7 different galactic languages and could speak basic phrases in 12 more. I have our peaceful greeting ready in Kalari, Vorthic, and Zephyrian, she reported. The Defiance approached the neutral meeting station at Kepler 442b slowly and carefully. Jake had ordered all weapons powered down and locked. The ship's computers were broadcasting friendship messages on every frequency the aliens used. Large screens on the hull displayed symbols that meant peace in the major galactic languages. This should work, Jake thought to himself. We're doing everything right. But the aliens at the station saw something very different. Fleet Prime, Vexthal of the Kalari Defense Force, was having a normal day until his sensors picked up the unknown ship. At first, he thought it might be a new council vessel he hadn't seen before. But as it got closer, he realized this was something completely new. The ship's design was wrong. All civilized species built their ships with smooth, curved lines that looked natural and peaceful. This human ship had sharp angles and flat surfaces that looked aggressive and military. The hull was dark in some places, as if it had been burned or damaged in battles. Unknown vessel, Vexthal transmitted. Identify yourself immediately. Jake heard the message and smiled. This was the moment they had prepared for. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations of Earth, he replied and carefully practiced Kalari. We come in peace and request permission to dock for diplomatic talks. But something went wrong with the translation. The alien computers had never heard human language before. To them, Jake's words sounded like aggressive barking or growling. The phrase United Nations of Earth translated as something like War Packs of the Death World. Vexthal felt his tentacles go cold with fear. The ancient stories were true. The mythical humans had found them, and they were demanding to dock with his station. "You are in violation of council space," he transmitted back. "Leave immediately, or we will open fire." Jake was confused. He tried again, speaking more slowly and clearly. "We are peaceful explorers from Earth. We wish to join the Galactic Council and make friends with your people." But the translation systems made it even worse. To the aliens, it sounded like Jake was saying, "We are war hunters from the Death World. We demand to conquer the Council and make slaves of your people." Dr. Bennett looked at his readings with alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting massive stress responses from the station. Their heart rates are going crazy." Maria Santos checked her translation programs. "Sir, I think something is wrong with our communications." The aliens seemed to be getting the wrong message. On the station, Vexthal was in full panic mode. He had never expected to face the legendary humans in his lifetime. According to the stories, they were unstoppable warriors who never showed mercy. His small defense force had only 3 light patrol ships, designed for dealing with pirates and smugglers, not mythical Death World monsters. "All ships, attack formation," he ordered. "We cannot let them reach the station." The 3 Kalari ships moved to surround the Defiance. They were small and fast, built for speed rather than heavy combat. But they were all Vexthal, had Jake watched. In confusion, as the alien ships took aggressive positions around his vessel. "What are they doing?" he asked. "We came here peacefully." "Captain," his weapons officer called out, "they're charging their weapons. I think they're about to fire." Jake couldn't believe it. Everything had gone wrong so quickly. "Raise shields," he ordered, "but do not power weapons. This has to be some kind of misunderstanding." The first energy blast hit the Defiance's shields like lightning. The ship shook, and warning alarms started blaring. The aliens were actually shooting at them. "Shields at 80%, reported the tactical officer. "They're not very powerful weapons, but if they keep firing, they'll eventually break through." Jake had to make a decision fast. He could fire back and destroy the alien ships easily. The Defiance was built much stronger than the small patrol vessels attacking it. But if he fought back, he would ruin humanity's first contact with alien life. Could also retreat and try again later. But the aliens might think humans were cowards, or they might prepare better defenses for next time. Instead, Jake chose a third option that would change galactic history forever. "Send a message to Admiral Rodriguez," he ordered. "Tell her that first contact has failed, and we are under attack by Council forces. Request immediate backup." Maria Santos sent the emergency signal with shaking hands. Deep in space, human monitoring stations picked up the message and relayed it to Earth's military command. The Defiance continued to take fire from the alien ships. Its shields held, but Jake knew they wouldn't last forever. He kept trying to communicate with the aliens, but nothing worked. "Captain," Dr. Bennett said quietly, "I don't think they're going to stop shooting." Jake nodded grimly. "Then we wait for help. But we do not fire first." In the depths of space, the human 4th Expeditionary Fleet received the distress call and began moving toward the station. Admiral Rodriguez read the report with growing anger. Humanity had tried to make peaceful contact, and the aliens had responded with violence. "So much for diplomacy," she said. "Prepare for battle stations." The age of human myths was about to end. The age of human reality was about to begin. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UNE Retribution, watching the tactical display with cold anger. The message from Captain Narration was clear. Humanity's peaceful first contact had failed. The aliens had shot first and asked questions. Later, "How long until we reach the station?" she asked. 47 minutes at maximum speed, replied her navigation officer. Rodriguez nodded. 47 minutes for the aliens to realize they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Fourth Expeditionary Fleet was humanity's finest military force. 12 ships, each one built for war and tested in the harsh conditions of Earth's solar system. Unlike the smooth, curved vessels preferred by the Galactic Council, human ships looked like what they were: weapons designed to fight and win. Colonel Danny Walsh, the fleet's Marine commander, studied the enemy positions on his screen. "Ma'am, the station has minimal defenses. 3 light patrol ships and some basic shield generators. We could take it in minutes." "That's not the point, Colonel," Rodriguez replied. "We're not here to conquer. We're here to make sure they understand what they're dealing with." The Admiral had spent 30 years in Earth's military, fighting in the resource wars and the Martian independence conflict. She had seen what happened when diplomacy failed and violence became the only language people understood. Dr. Alex Bennett's voice crackled over the communication system from the damaged Defiance. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their weapons and tactics. These aren't military vessels. They're police ships designed for crowd control and stopping smugglers. I don't think they expected to fight a real war." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Then it's time they learned what a real war looks like." On the station, Fleet Prime Vexthel was beginning to realize he had made a terrible mistake. His 3 patrol ships had been firing at the human vessel for over an hour, and it was barely damaged. The alien ship's shields were stronger than anything in the Council's military. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching fast." Vexthel felt his tentacles go numb with fear. The humans were bringing reinforcements. 12 human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation around the station. They moved with a precision that spoke of countless hours of training and real combat experience. Unlike Council ships, which approached in predictable patterns, the human vessels moved like a pack of predators, surrounding prey. The difference between human and alien ship design was immediately obvious. Council vessels were built to look peaceful and non-threatening. They had smooth lines, bright colors, and plenty of windows to show that civilized beings were inside. Human warships looked like they were built to kill. Their hulls were dark and angular, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. They had no unnecessary decorations or comfortable viewing areas. Every part of each ship was designed for war. "This is Admiral Lisa Rodriguez of the United Nations of Earth," came the transmission that would echo through galactic history. "You fired on our diplomatic vessel without provocation. We are here to discuss terms." The words were calm and professional, but the threat was clear. The humans had brought enough firepower to destroy the station and everything around it. Vexthel tried to respond, but his voice wouldn't work. He had spent his entire career dealing with pirates and smugglers who used small, weak ships. He had never faced a real military force before. "Admiral Rodriguez," he finally managed to say, "there has been a misunderstanding. We thought your ship was a threat." "Our ship was broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies," Rodriguez replied. "Your response was to open fire. That is what we call an act of war." The concept didn't translate well. Council species had moved beyond the idea of total war centuries ago. When they had conflicts, they were limited affairs with strict rules about what could and couldn't be attacked. The idea of fighting until one side was completely defeated was alien to them. But the humans had never forgotten how to fight real wars. Captain Morrison's voice joined the conversation from the Defiance. "Admiral, Dr. Bennett has been monitoring their biological responses. Their stress levels are off the charts. I don't think they understand what they're dealing with." Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The station's defenses were pathetic by human standards. The 3 patrol ships had weapons that couldn't penetrate human shields. The station itself had only basic protective systems. "Fleet Prime Vexthel," she said, "I want to speak with whoever is in charge of this sector. We need to discuss how this situation is going to be resolved." "I am in command here," Vexthel replied, though his voice shook as he said it. "Then you're going to explain to your superiors why you attacked a diplomatic vessel," Rodriguez said. "And you're going to do it while we're watching." The Admiral opened a channel to all Council frequencies in the area. She wanted everyone to hear what came next. "This is Admiral Lisa Rodriguez, speaking for the human species," she broadcast. "For generations, you have told stories about us. You have called us myths and legends. Today, those myths have become reality." Across the sector, alien vessels picked up the transmission. News of the human arrival spread through Council space faster than light-speed communication. "We came here in peace," Rodriguez continued. "We offered friendship and cooperation. Your response was to shoot at us. This is unacceptable." Colonel Walsh watched the sensor readings from the station. "Ma'am, I'm detecting evacuation procedures. They're moving non-essential personnel to escape pods." "Let them go," Rodriguez ordered. "We're not here to hurt civilians." But the message was clear to everyone listening. The humans had arrived with overwhelming force, and they were not asking for permission to exist. They were announcing their presence to the galaxy and demanding to be taken seriously. Dr. Susan Clark, Earth's lead scientist aboard the flagship, studied the alien technology through their sensors. "Admiral, their ships are centuries behind ours in military capability, but their civilian technology is impressive. They have things we could learn from." Rodriguez nodded. "That's why we're here to talk, not to conquer. But they need to understand that attacking human diplomatic vessels is not acceptable behavior." The standoff continued for hours. The human fleet remained in position around the station, their weapons powered but not aimed. They were giving the aliens time to think about their situation. Finally, Vexthel received new orders from Council headquarters. "Admiral Rodriguez," he transmitted, "the Council has agreed to emergency talks. They want to discuss the situation with your leaders." "Good," Rodriguez replied. "But the talks will happen on our terms, at a location of our choosing, and there will be no more attacks on human vessels." "Understood," Vexthel said quickly as the human fleet prepared to escort the alien diplomats to the meeting. One thing was clear to everyone involved. The galaxy had changed forever. The humans were no longer myths or legends. They were the new reality that everyone would have to learn to live with. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 3,000-year history. For the first time, they were not in control of the situation. The beings who gathered in the great crystal chamber were scared, confused, and angry. Representative Tony Miller walked into the chamber like he owned it. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes, chosen by Earth's government because he never got excited or lost his temper. Behind him walked Captain Amy Foster, a young military officer who carried a simple tablet computer. The sight of the two humans caused a stir among the assembled aliens. They looked exactly like the creatures from the old stories, but they seemed so ordinary. No claws, no natural armor, no obvious weapons. Just two bipedal mammals in simple blue uniforms. Chancellor Mordith of the Vorthik called the session to order. His crystal body was glowing brighter than usual, a sign of stress among his people. "This emergency session will address the unprecedented situation in the Kepler sector. Tony Miller sat down in a chair he had brought from his ship. Most council species didn't use furniture, preferring to float, stand, or rest in ways that matched their biology. But humans needed to sit, and Miller wasn't going to be uncomfortable during these talks. "Before we begin," Miller said in clear, simple language, "let me explain what happened from our point of view. We sent a diplomatic vessel to make peaceful contact with your people. Your forces opened fire without warning. In human culture, that is called an act of war. The translation systems worked better now that linguists from both sides had worked together. But the concept of act of war still didn't translate properly. Most council species thought of conflict as limited disagreements that could be solved through negotiation. Commander Zethiel of the Kalari military tried to explain. Fleet Prime Vexthal believed your ship was a threat. He was protecting the station according to standard procedures. Your standard procedures, Captain Foster said, reading from her tablet, involve shooting first and asking questions later. That is not how civilized beings behave. The accusation of being uncivilized hit the council members hard. They had always prided themselves on being advanced, peaceful, and reasonable. The idea that primitive humans were calling them uncivilized was insulting. "You cannot simply appear in our space and make demands," declared Chancellor Mordith. "There are protocols, procedures, diplomatic traditions that have kept peace in this galaxy for millennia." Miller leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Your people fired on our ship? In human law, that gives us the right to respond with military force. We chose not to destroy your station, but that doesn't mean we can't." Dr. Yulmouth of the healer species spoke up. "You speak of violence so casually. Surely rational beings can solve disagreements through discussion and compromise." "We tried discussion," Foster replied. "Your people responded by shooting at us." Commander Roy Patterson, humanity's military representative, activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed tactical analyses of council military forces compared to human capabilities. "Your fleets are designed for police work and parades," Patterson explained with professional calm. "Our ships are built to fight wars against enemies who want to kill us. There is a significant difference in capability." The display showed human vessels moving through combat simulations. They were faster, more heavily armed, and capable of fighting in conditions that would destroy council ships. Worse, they moved in coordinated patterns that spoke of real combat experience. "This is impossible," protested Admiral Kethmer of the Zephyrian Fleet. "No species could survive the conditions you describe. Your home world would have to be a death planet." "It is," Miller said simply. "Earth has killed more humans than all our wars combined. Storms that can level entire cities. Earthquakes that can split continents. Diseases that can wipe out millions. We learned to survive because we had no choice." Dr. Susan Clark, Earth's chief scientist, presented data about human industrial capacity. Unlike council species, who preferred to live in harmony with their environment, humans had learned to reshape entire worlds to meet their needs. "We don't just adapt to our environment," Clark explained. "We change it. We can build fleets, terraform planets, and support populations in conditions that would kill most of your species." The council members were beginning to understand that they weren't dealing with just another species seeking membership. Humans were a completely different kind of civilization that had evolved in isolation, developing technologies and strategies the galaxy had never seen. "What do you want?" asked Chancellor Mordith finally. "Full membership in the Galactic Council," Miller replied. "Equal representation, equal voting rights, equal access to council trade networks and technology." "Impossible," several council members said at once. "Why?" Foster asked. "Because we're different from you?" "Because you're dangerous," admitted Commander Zethel. Your entire species is built for war. You would destabilize everything we've built. Miller stood up from his chair. Let me tell you something about humans, he said. We don't fight because we want to. We fight because our history taught us that the alternative to fighting is extinction. Every war we've ever fought was because someone threatened our survival. He walked to the center of the chamber, surrounded by beings who could crush him physically, but were powerless against the force he represented. You've had peace for 3,000 years, because no one has challenged you, Miller continued. But peace without the ability to defend it isn't peace. It's just the time between wars. Patterson added more tactical data to the display. Your outer territories report increasing pirate activity. Unknown signals from unexplored sectors. Something is coming from beyond the galaxy's edge, and your police forces won't be able to stop it. The council members exchanged worried glances. They had been receiving disturbing reports from their frontier settlements, but they had assumed these were just local problems. We can offer protection, Clark said. Human ships can patrol areas too dangerous for council vessels. Human soldiers can fight enemies that your people cannot handle. Human industry can build the weapons and defenses you'll need. In exchange for what? Asked Chancellor Mordith. Partnership, Miller replied. Not conquest, not domination. We want to be part of the galactic community, but as equals, not as junior members or probationary species. The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to reject the human demands outright. Others worried about the military implications of refusing. A few began to see the advantages of having human protection. Finally, Ambassador Clickstar of the Vorthik, the keeper of ancient stories, spoke up. Perhaps, he said slowly, the old legends were not warnings. Perhaps they were prophecies. The humans were said to appear when the galaxy faced its greatest danger. He gestured to the tactical displays, showing the growing threats from unexplored space. Maybe they are here, because we need them to be here. The vote was close, but humanity won their place in the Galactic Council, not as the mythical monsters of ancient stories, but as the reluctant guardians of a galaxy that had forgotten how to defend itself. The age of easy peace was over. The age of protected peace was about to begin. 6 months after first contact, the galaxy was still getting used to having humans around. Captain Steve Rogers commanded the UNE Vigilance as it patrolled the outer rim territories that had once been too dangerous for council ships to visit. Crew was mixed, with humans working alongside aliens who had volunteered to serve on human vessels. Lieutenant Zara Klix, a young Vorthik officer, monitored the sensor stations, while Sergeant Pete Murphy, a human marine, trained Kalari security personnel in combat tactics. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Zara reported. Looks like pirates. Hitting a cargo convoy, Rogers nodded. Battle stations. Let's show these pirates what happens when they attack council shipping. The Vigilance moved toward the attack with the fluid grace that marked all human warships. Unlike the careful, predictable approaches favored by council vessels, the human ship seemed to dance through space, using every advantage of speed and positioning. The pirate ships were built for raiding, fast and lightly armed. They had been terrorizing the outer territories for years because council patrol ships were too slow to catch them and too weak to fight them when they did. But they had never faced a human warship before. This is Captain Rogers of the UNE Vigilance, he broadcast to the pirates. You are attacking a council convoy under human protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The pirate leader laughed over the radio. 1 ship against 5. You humans are as crazy as the stories say. Only one way to find out, Rogers replied. The battle was over in minutes. The human ship moved through the pirate formation like a shark through a school of fish, its weapons striking with precision that left the enemy vessels crippled but not destroyed. The pirates who survived were captured and turned over to Council authorities. How did you do that? Asked Lieutenant Zara, her crystal body flickering with amazement. Those pirates have been raiding this sector for years. Practice, Sergeant Murphy replied with a grin. Humans have been fighting pirates since we first learned to build boats. Some things never change. Back on Earth, Admiral Rodriguez met with the Council's Joint Military Committee to discuss the growing security situation. The conference room was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all trying to understand how to work with their new human partners. The pirate attacks are increasing, reported General Vexton of the Kellari forces. But wherever human ships patrol, the attacks stop completely. Because pirates are bullies, explained Colonel Walsh. They only attack targets they think are weak. When they realize there might be humans around, they find somewhere else to cause trouble. The real challenge wasn't military. It was cultural. Young aliens across the galaxy were fascinated by human music, movies, and books. Human culture was spreading through galactic networks faster than governments could control it. The concept of never giving up was particularly popular among alien youth. For species that had grown up with the idea that all conflicts could be solved through compromise, the human attitude of fighting until you won was revolutionary. My younglings keep asking why we don't fight like humans, complained Chancellor Mordith during a council session. They want to know why we negotiate with pirates instead of just destroying them. Representative Miller tried to explain. Fighting is not always the answer, but sometimes the only way to protect innocent people is to make sure the bad guys know there will be consequences for their actions. Dr. Bennett had been studying the cultural exchange between humans and aliens. It's not just our military technology they're interested in, he reported. They want to understand how we think. Why we keep trying when other species would give up. The answer, he had discovered, was simple. Humans had evolved on a world that was constantly trying to kill them. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy had developed on worlds that were relatively safe and comfortable. We don't give up because giving up means dying, Bennett explained to a mixed audience of human and alien scientists. On Earth, the creatures that survived were the ones that kept fighting no matter how bad things got. The real test of the new alliance came when long-range sensors detected something approaching from outside the galaxy. Ships of unknown design were moving toward Council space, and they weren't responding to any attempts at communication. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the new Joint Command Station, watching the tactical display with representatives from every major council species. The unknown ships were huge, heavily armed, and moving in formations that suggested military purpose. First contact protocol? Asked Ambassador Clickstar. We tried that, Rogers replied from his patrol ship. They're jamming all our communications and ignoring our peaceful signals. The unknown fleet continued its approach, sweeping aside the automated sensor platforms that marked the galaxy's outer boundary. Whatever they weren't interested in talking. Admiral, Captain Foster, reported from the human fleet, were reading massive energy signatures from those ships. They're armed for war. Rodriguez made the decision that would define the new galactic order. All ships, defensive positions. Protect the civilian populations. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. The battle for the galaxy's future began. At the edge of known space, human ships moved to intercept the unknown invaders while Council vessels evacuated civilian populations from threatened worlds. Lieutenant Commander Beth Adams watched from the bridge of the newest human warship as construction crews worked frantically to complete the first joint Human Council battle station. The facility was designed to coordinate the defense of the entire galaxy, combining human military expertise with Council technology and resources. Think we can hold them? Asked her Zephyrian communications officer. We're humans, Adams replied with confidence. We don't know how to lose. The unknown invaders were powerful and dangerous, but they had made one critical mistake. They had attacked a galaxy that was now protected by a species that had learned to fight on a death world against impossible odds and never give up. The invaders had expected to find the same peaceful, unprepared civilizations that had been easy targets throughout the galaxy's history. Instead, they found humans, and humans were very good at protecting things they cared about. The myths were over. The humans were real, and they were here to stay. The galaxy had found its guardians, even if those guardians were reluctant, stubborn, and absolutely refused to back down from a fight. For the first time in galactic history, the civilized species had real protection. They had humans watching their backs, and humans never abandoned their friends. The new reality was simple. Mess with the galaxy, and you mess with humanity. And that was a fight that no one in their right mind wanted to pick Dot as Admiral Rodriguez watched the joint human-alien fleet move out to face the unknown threat. She smiled. The galaxy had spent 3,000 years telling stories about humans. Now, they were about to see what those stories really meant.